Hello and welcome back to the Chicken for Breakfast podcast.
Where we have all the answers to one very simple question. What's cooking?
I'm your host, Magic.
I'm David, and with us today, back again, Chris.
Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
Of course, you never really left if you've been watching anything else on the channel, but
The whole time.
Yeah, he's
back on the podcast.
Yeah, he's a virtual member of the channel, but a very crucial one at that.
Yeah.
So Chris, how you feeling, man?
Feeling good.
You been on any other podcasts since you've been on ours?
There are no other podcasts but this one.
All right, well,
You
you
heard it here first.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So we got a lot that we can talk about today, Chris. But first off, let's just get an update on how you're feeling. What's cooking?
Oh, doing good, man. I know the BG3's back in action. I know we had a little time off due to here's and there's, but we're back at it.
Life.
Back in Fairham.
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true. It's one of those things that it can get really pushed off. And David and I were talking 2 weeks ago about how some of our things kind of fell off the wagon a little bit. Yeah. But we're back at it. We're moving.
Yeah.
And we actually, since you brought it up, we're changing the format of our BG3 episodes. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that.
Sure, yeah. Baldur's Gate 3 is a long game.
It really is. It really is.
Especially when we're playing it.
It's paced.
Yes.
So, we're kind of scrapping the individual episodes. The ones that are out there are still probably going to be up there. I don't think they're going anywhere. But we were thinking of combining them all into one kind of super episode that follows it at a little more brisk pace.
Yeah.
I think the episodes were pretty well paced already. But those first, I think the first, I don't know, maybe like the first 6 or 7, we were playing pretty slow. And that's to be expected because we're all new to the game. Yeah. But now we've kind of picked up the pace, so I think we're going to put together a pretty nice, little summary of our journey.
Yeah, and I think it works this way better too, because I think a lot of times when people are viewing content, if they have to really I think it's one of those games that's really hard to follow. If you're not familiar with it.
It can be.
And I think the way that we were playing was so not like on par per se, that it was kind of hard for us to really make it an entertaining thing, because we got really focused in on the actual gameplay, that we kind of didn't necessarily go more the easy to understand route, which is okay. It's fully fine. So I think this new version allows us to build that story out in a more comprehensive format.
Absolutely. And there's a couple, it's just like anything else. There's a learning curve to it.
Yeah.
We're learning the game and learning each other's style at the same time, and making a cohesive story and making an entertainment podcast. There's a bunch of different facets.
That's a lot.
At the same time.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we learned that this is going to be a better way to present it.
Yeah,
for sure. Speaking of Baldur's Gate and gaming, other than my PC crashing 4 times a night,
We're working on it.
What other do we have anything fun coming up for the channel? Anything new for the viewers to get ready for?
Yeah, Chris and I have been talking about starting a series here or there, a gaming series, more gameplay videos. We've been talking about a couple games. I know we threw around games like Killing Floor and Left 4 Dead a couple times.
There was pretty much anything zombie-like, anything you can hop in and out of really quick.
Yeah.
I wanted to get something like a Left 4 Dead up, and maybe something survival-like that we could hop in every once in a while. I know we played a couple Pal Worlds here and there, and then that got a little dicey. Wasn't sure the future that would hold.
Yeah.
And
Funnily enough, I still have friends playing that game. Surprisingly, I still have people logging on.
I think there was a big update since we've.
I think
there's been several.
We've played that a long time ago, Chris. That was kind of our game, and we just did not, It was so much work to get started. It was fun. I had a great time, but I just don't think the time investment was something that we could keep up with everything else we were doing.
Right.
It was a fun game though. I'd be down to do like a quick little re-exploration.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Return might be good.
The only problem with the survival game, things like that, is the time commitment. Yeah. Because you have to get into every aspect of those games. You have to sort of commit to that, and it does take the time away from everything else. And if we want to do the other things like finish the third act of BG3 and get into these other projects that we want to do that aren't going to be such a time commitment, it's either, all Pal World or 3 other things that we can manage.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same context of Baldur's Gate. I think if we did re-explore Pal World or really any games, because I've talked about jumping back into Ark, I've talked about doing, Skyrim. I know we've talked about doing some Skyrim content,
stuff,
which would be amazing. I love that game. One of my favorite games of all time. But I think for all of those things, it's hard to make episodic content. So we'd have to find a way to make it more, digestible. But I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah, I know. Chris and I kind of also played with the idea of just kind of doing like one-offs of us just jumping into a game for the first time and just kind of just small games, nothing too crazy, nothing that requires a gigantic commitment.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of seeing like what it's like to just jump in and play a game for maybe like 1 or 2 goes,
for sure,
and still have fun with it. And I know there's those games out there. Phasmophobia. I don't know if either of you have played that or seen it.
Yes, I have a friend who a friend that we play with, June, is big into that. He has his circle of friends is big into that. They're playing that now, and he's into it huge.
Yeah, I mean
they're trying to unlock the higher levels in that, and they're having a great time.
Yeah, those type of games, they're kind of just like jump in and play, just pick up and play the game. There's no really hoops you have to jump through to make anything. You just kind of open the game up and you play it. So I think that's a good direction to go, just to keep the variety of what we're putting out.
For sure, and that also kind of brings us into our next kind of level of gaming, where when we do games like that, I mean, he's wearing a Marvel Rival shirt right now, which is awesome. We've been doing some of that as well. But I think we've been making that our recreational kind of break game, and I think that's important too. But we also can do that kind of content as live streams. I think in 2025, we just talked about predictions when we did our last episode, but or I guess 2 episodes ago. But I think something that I'd like to kind of see us kind of move towards when my computer can handle it is more live streaming content. Yeah. We've done a few. We did an amazing Baldur's Gate live stream. We had the craziest fight. It was awesome. We something happened and we lost it, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, that was Halloween, right?
Oh yeah,
was that when it was? It was on Halloween.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was great. I had fun. I had fun gaming with y'all.
Yeah, no, it's always a good time.
Yeah, that's last night actually when we did our stream, or not a stream, but we recorded last night. We had some pretty amazing strategy. I mean, we finally found, I think, a strategic groove.
Oh yeah.
In our fighting, it sort of came together.
Yeah.
Where we sort of looked at the situation and everyone just sort of took a different direction and sort of had that Avengers moment.
Yeah. And we still had
Hulk smash moment.
But we still had the same moments where someone's exploring and they're in a fight now.
Oh, well, I'm done.
Right.
There it goes.
Oh yeah. That moment happened after we all came back together.
Yeah. We had a really cool fight and then came back and was like, let's break all these torches.
Question. You used to love me if I wasn't in. You're not listening to me. You never do. What do you mean? I just got home from work. I don't know what I did to upset you. Are you coming with me? Or are you stuck doing the same old? Let's see a new city. Yeah. Add some juice to our lives. Let's see if you coming with me.
Yeah, but aside from the gaming, at heart, we're also video makers. That's what it's all about, being on YouTube.
Absolutely.
And we got up to some filmmaking last year.
Yeah.
I could say that.
I would say that for me the experience was not bad. It was quite different than I expected. So for context, we did a 48-hour film festival, which we did it through the Ohio Media School because y'all work there.
Yeah.
But I got to be a part of the team. Maria, who we saw last week, she got to be a part of the team. So I think it was fun. My only problem was I got to be the one who
The
stayed
great
up literally
privilege.
the great astounding privilege of being up all night working on this film.
Yeah.
And editing it and cutting together. Maria was a great help on that as well. But it was quite a challenge. It was it was refreshing though, to some degree of like, okay, sitting down for literally an entire night because the pressure of I gotta finish this was so grand. And you know, with 48s, I don't think you can ever really get what you envision.
No, I mean, there are ways to do it. Typically, the way to do it is just to pare back all the ideas.
Yeah.
But for those of you who aren't familiar with what even the 48 is,
Ooh, yeah,
that's a
let's
big
start there.
thing. I mean, it's national. It might even be international.
International.
Yeah,
It is
and
international.
it happens, you know, all across the world, multiple times a year. 2 days to make a short film, right? 7 minute maximum. I think
it's something like 7 or 8 minutes. That's with credits.
Yeah. And so like that's already difficult enough. The what kind of ratchets it up to the next level is that you don't even know what you're making until the day of.
Yeah.
All right. So you got a genre you have to do, character that needs to be in it,
Line of
lines, props. It's a whole thing.
But you're not giving any of that till Friday night.
Yes. So it runs from Friday into Sunday. Those are your days.
Yeah.
You pick up the info on Friday and you just start, you just go to town on it.
Yeah, so I want to definitely shift it over to Chris, because you had a huge part in the planning and kind of organization.
Yeah, Chris really led the charge on the
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
I've
project.
been running the past 2 of those, and we're already signed up for this summer. The next one's in July.
Absolutely.
It's I think July 11th, 12th, and 13th.
Yeah.
So the school's going to be doing another one. So the past 2 of them, we ran one in the summer, and then the 48 also does like a specialized Halloween version of itself. So there's a horror 48. So it's all horror movies. But then when you get your genre of horror movie, so you get a specialized horror movie to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. You get a horror genre, and you get a prop and a name for your character and a profession, all that stuff. So we ran a specialized horror movie. So it was a great time.
Yeah.
It was a great time. By the way, you really ran that really well. You had
You
a
did.
good system working.
You saved us quite a few times in there.
Yeah.
I do try. It's not easy because it's the time is so compressed.
The time is, well, and I think that's really the challenge of it. And
It is, and that's how I think that is the whole point of it, though. It's to try to do everything that you're trained to do and know you want to do and should do, and then realize you don't have time to do any of that. And it's realizing and figuring out a way to get that stuff done in time, and learning what you can do and pushing yourself and adapting to those times and being like, oh, I figured out a way to do this thing that takes 3 days in 3 hours.
yeah.
And be like, I can do this, and it's figuring out that way.
Yeah. I think my kind of favorite part of it, and the thing the reason I think it's so successful and it's been going, I mean, these have been going on forever. And I know, I went to school at Ohio University and they had their own 48-hour film fest down there. And I think kind of why it's endured for so long is it's really a return to like your indie filmmaking roots, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've been working pretty professionally, these last few years. So it's structure and planning and weeks of pre-production and all of this stuff. And then it kind of gets all tossed out the windows and you gotta, you're kind of brought back to level 1 in a way where you just gotta get scrappy with everything you do just to make stuff happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, it's one of those things where you mean well by going into it and being like, all right, make sure we're logged on the footage, make sure, make sure everyone's got what they need. Like, I remember
Not to
sitting
call
down-
you out on your good habits. But
Yeah.
when you and Maria sat down and started logging footage, and we all looked at you. No. Get to work.
Yeah, we're sitting there, we're like, okay, and then like none after that. We did like the first 2 cars.
We don't have
we're
time
like,
for
we
good
don't have
habits
time
here.
for this. We just gotta go. We just gotta move.
Yeah.
Because I think the other part of it is like there wasn't a lot of time for multiple takes, so it was just like do do the thing with what we have.
Yeah.
So it was fun though. I think it was a great experience. I think editorial wise, I'm not gonna say I'm up for the challenge again, because we're out here. I'm watching everyone one by one. All right, we'll see you. I'm gonna go home and get some sleep before I'm just kind of like, okay, I get to keep working. But it was fun though. It was a great time.
It is a good time. It is a good time. It takes a lot out of you though. It really does drain you.
It's one of those, like, if you like mountain climbing, you do it once a year type deal.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could do it more than once or twice a year.
Yeah. It asks for a lot, but by the end of it, we had a pretty good piece. All things considered. I was very happy. It's very common to do this stuff and then never even finish. So just finishing on just finishing the thing is already a triumph. But when it kind of turns out good, like, damn, I can do this. I do kind of got it.
Absolutely. And I will say, you made sure that stuff got done. Director Chris was kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie. Director Chris was pretty good.
Yeah,
it's kind of good because I've been part of teams that haven't finished, and it's horribly depressing because you do everything you can to cut those corners and make sure stuff gets done in time, and you're like, look what we did to cut this corner. Like, sweet, we're gonna get this done, and then
and I think that's part of it too, right? Where it's like, if you're going to come together and you're going to really work hard for 48 hours to put a film together, and then you end up not having anything to show for it, it really feels like a waste of time.
It hurts. There's only one thing worse than not finishing, is when you get a good momentum going and then everyone just, like, you hit a problem and everyone kind of wants to quit.
Yeah.
I've had that happen before. That's worse than trying your hardest and just not making, the final, deadline. Right. Is just like, I was just like, well, this is too difficult. I'm going home.
Yeah.
The other side of that is the very first 48 we did. We barely didn't make the deadline.
Yeah.
But as soon as we didn't make that deadline, the entire crew that was there is like, when's the next one? They didn't even care.
See, that's dope.
Yeah. They're like, when's the next one? They had so much fun. It didn't even matter.
And that's the beautiful thing.
I almost cried. I was like, I'll look it up right now. Let's go. And then we did the Halloween one, made it in time, got nominated for 3 awards. We were up against, for Best Visual Effects, we're up against the film that, like, swept almost all the awards. Like, just being nominated up against that movie was, like, amazing.
Yeah. And then, like, it's a beautiful thing because there's always going to be another one.
Right.
And you don't have to wait long for it. I mean, 3-4 months in between, and you're back on it. So if you've never done a 48-hour film festival, I recommend it at least one time.
Yeah.
It really lets you know if you like doing this stuff or not.
Yeah, do it one time. Because if you do it again, you're going to be a filmmaker. If you want to do it again.
Do it once. Do it twice. Now you're committed.
Mm. Yeah. If you could do it with the same group of people twice, then you know you got something going on.
Oh, well, and I think there's a little piece into that where, like, you start, once you keep working with the same people, you're like, okay, this time around, not logging footage at all. Just jump in, start cutting it. Yeah. Maybe we don't try to do all these cool portal things. Maybe we don't. You kind of start keeping each other accountable for the things that didn't happen or didn't go well last time, and you start growing as a team. And I think the team that did end up winning a bunch of things, and it was a great piece. And I think that they have been doing it for a while, and they've got that kind of system down. So it'll be us one day.
Yeah, we're definitely building that kind of dream team to really knock out some of these short films. We had a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was something like 30 people. We had 30, maybe more than that, signed up for it.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty.
Yeah,
it was pretty big.
It was pretty popping in there, which is cool. But sometimes you move a little slow with that many people. So I think our next go around might be a little more streamlined. But I think we can do better. I think we can do a better piece. We kind of one up ourselves.
It's
definitely
get better every time.
It's in the cards.
So we learn and adapt every time. It's the same thing we tell the students.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's filmmaking.
So, Chris, before we wrap up the podcast today, I wanted to throw it back to you for a new series that you've talked about starting. Tell us about it.
Sure. Well, I'm going to be producing a D&D type podcast where our characters are going to be going into different multiverse type deals. Our characters are going to be played by a troupe of role players. They're not necessarily going to be the same actors every week. Because due to scheduling and stuff like that, you can't always get the same people every week. So I want to have a bigger troupe of actors and role players so we can shoot every week and have our schedule on time.
Yeah.
But the characters will be assigned a random sort of character to play every week that'll be selected off of a bigger character board. So they get to role play a different character every week to go to a different sort of adventuring place based on whoever's telling that story, playing the dungeon master that week, right? That dungeon master seat will change every week, so we'll get a new storyteller every week to adventure with. That's the general idea of it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, what really kind of sold me on it when you brought the idea to me was, in my experience of playing D&D, I haven't played too much, but I've played. Getting a big group of people together is always difficult. It's difficult to do it, in a timely way, consistently for a long period of time, because that's always the biggest struggle is just how long it takes to get through a D&D campaign. It's its biggest, triumph and its biggest struggle. So when you brought the idea to me of rotating DMs, short-term games.
They'll be one-offs.
I was going to ask if they were going to be one-shots.
Nothing more than like a 3 campaign, so that storyteller will change all the time, but our group of adventurers won't change. So the players won't change. The troupe of role players, their characters that they play will change.
Yeah, and that all kind of just that solves a lot of my D&D kind of anxiety or issues with it. Of short-term games, weekly stuff, new stories all the time. Right? You don't get bored of the world you're in.
But consistent characters.
But consistent characters.
That will build their stories over time. So those characters that will return back again to our role players will continue to grow. So their stories will continue to grow, and they'll have recaps when they return. So, if they get chosen again to go on another adventure, it'll be like last time they played. It might not be the same role player playing that character even. So that could add add another layer to, the fun of that role play.
Yeah, it's almost putting the players in a sort of DM role themselves, where they really can collaborate amongst themselves by playing different players and different characters and sharing different characters to make their own kind of big story.
I want to see costumes on this. They gotta have costumes, accents. You gotta play it up, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's role playing. You gotta role play it. That's what sells it.
I'm looking for a committed role player.
So I haven't committed is the key. Surprisingly enough, I have not played too much D&D. I played around. I sat in on a game. Somebody was sick, so I was like, I guess I'll sit in. Yeah. And then I DM'd once. I loved DMing.
Interesting.
DMing is so much fun. It takes some skill though.
It does.
So I think initially, you want to start out with someone who's done it before, is experienced, and then as the players see, oh, I can do that, they'll start coming up with these stories and kind of building the character that they're playing now into, okay, this character, he's going to go do this thing, and then next time I return, I'll tell him about what I did when I wasn't actually on screen, right? So I think it just works. It's such a fun idea. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to also be a part of it. Where can we find this D&D game?
Yeah,
where's it going to be?
Yeah, where's it showing up at?
Well, I want to bring it to C4B. I mean, it seems like a good home for it.
We talked about way back when, like I'm talking when we were at the old season 2 studio.
Yeah.
We talked about, finding a little basement, renting it out and shooting this D&D. I mean, you were there. We've been talking about this for years and years and years. The problem is it's really, like you said, it's really hard to find committed people to show up and do the thing, especially when it's such a long commitment. Like if you don't love it, you can't do it. It's that simple. Yeah. And the amount of production I think it will take it wasn't achievable back then. Which I think that now that we're all here, we've worked together, we continue making content together. I think it's a great idea. I think we can pull it off.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think the response to it has been great. It's been great. That's always the scary part is like, how am I going to find the people to do this? Who's going to want to make this commitment? Well, it seems like kind of everybody right now.
Yeah, I think now's the right time. And once we get the pre-production buttoned up, we'll shoot an episode 0 and go from there.
Yeah,
for sure. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Chris, is there anything else you wanna throw out there? Anything you want to shout out and look forward to?
I think I'm looking forward to getting this D&D thing off the ground. We're working on. I'm going to research this title I thought up and make sure nobody else has it.
Oh, nice. Absolutely.
Got to do that.
Mm-hmm. Always research your titles. You don't be taking somebody else's and realize later that you got to come up with something new once you make art for it.
For sure.
Yeah.
No,
it's happened too many times.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen too many times.
And it's always the title you fall in love with the most.
It's your favorite
like, okay, this is it.
Yeah, some kid with 12 followers has it locked down and copyrighted, and it's his.
Absolutely. So we're gonna keep our eyes peeled for that. Chris, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yeah, anytime.
Definitely. We got to get you on more often. We were just talking about this.
Yeah.
We gotta. You're pretty mainstream for C4B, so we're glad to have you, man.
I'm so popular.
You're so mainstream. So we'll see you around on the gaming side of things, on the channel side of things in general.
Absolutely.
It's good to see you're making some different content.
Yeah. We'll get that PC up. We'll get you on Marvel Rivals. And Hulk out with you.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I would just switch over to my PlayStation when we recreationally play. And that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of the Chicken for Breakfast podcast.
Remember, chicken is a soul food.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
So why not start your day out right with chicken for breakfast? See you next week.
Thanks for watching.
Boom.